Good afternoon. We are deeply saddened by the tragic death of 13-year-old Melanie Granados. Our thoughts are with her family, friends, and everyone affected by this devastating event. No child should ever have to endure suffering. We are committed to uncovering the truth and seeking justice on her behalf. On Tuesday evening, our officers responded to the home of Virginia Lujan after she called 911 to report that her 13-year-old granddaughter, Melanie, was unresponsive. Despite immediate life-saving efforts, she was pronounced dead early Wednesday morning at the hospital. Melanie, who had a cognitive delay with the mental capacity of a 3-year-old, had been in the care of her grandmother along with several other children. During the investigation, our officers observed that she had extensive injuries, including bruises and sores in various stages of healing. A search of the home uncovered horrible conditions, along with a makeshift cage filled with feces. Lujan and Melanie's mother, Jamie Hodges, admitted they kept her in a cage to maintain control of her. Hodges, the mother, had been temporarily staying at the home with her 5 children, 4 of whom were under Lujan's care. Hodges admitted she had not regularly seen Melanie during this time and was unaware of a reported fall down the stairs that Lujan claimed occurred 2 days earlier. Lujan did not seek medical attention for Melanie after the alleged fall, saying she believed that she would recover. We arrested 55-year-old Virginia Lujan, who is currently in custody. Melanie's mother, 33-year-old Jamie Hodges, was arrested and released pending charges. Both women face child abuse charges, and additional charges may follow as our investigation continues. The tragic loss of a child is a profound reminder of our shared responsibility to protect the most vulnerable in our community. Investigations like this demand meticulous attention to detail and sensitivity to the emotional toll that it takes on everyone involved. The Tempe Police Department is committed to holding these individuals responsible and ensuring that no child endures this type of suffering. We urge anyone with information regarding this case to contact the Tempe Police Department. Your assistance is vital as we seek justice and to work to prevent tragedies such as this in the future. Thank you.
And we do have time for some questions.
What is the status of the other 4 children, and did they show any signs of abuse?
So they were removed by DCS and they are in other care. We are continuing our investigation into the status of those children. Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about Hodges being released pending charges? It seemed that there was a confession of holding the child in a makeshift cage. Can you just kind of explain or give us a little bit more clarity of that?
Of course. So Hodges was released pending charges, and what that means is that she was booked for charges but released pending further investigation. So right now she did make some statements, but there were more that could be followed up with her statements. They weren't exactly as concise as her holding the child in the cage. So there is still more to investigate with her.
Is there any, I know it's still under investigation, is there any idea though on what caused the unresponsiveness of Melanie?
We are going to be waiting for an autopsy, and that will hopefully give us some clarity to that.
Any idea how long this abuse had been taking place, or how long this child may have been locked up in the cage?
We can't speak to that right now. We are still actively investigating, so we're hoping that as we gather more information, we will be able to get a timeline to that.
Was there any evidence that she had ever been taken to a doctor?
Once again, that's going to be part of our fact finding as we investigate.
And you mentioned they're waiting on an autopsy. Other charges could be pending. Is it possible to say that homicide charges could be among those possibilities with your investigation.
That may be a possibility.
We did see at the house sort of a makeshift dog house in the backyard. Can you say whether that's the cage? Was the cage inside or outside?
That likely there is a dog in the home as well. The cage that we're referring to was inside the home.
Any way you can describe, I mean, was it a cage, was she kept in a closet, or was she just kept in a cage in a room, or what can you tell us about where this 13-year-old had been kept in those conditions?
The best way to describe it, it was a bunk bed, but the lower bed of that bunk was not there, and the bunk bed around the bottom was surrounded by baby cages and makeshift bars for the bottom of that bunk bed.
Can you talk a little bit more too, just about the conditions inside the home? Were there any other red flags that officers noticed, or what was it like inside the home other than this makeshift cage?
The home was very disorderly. It was not very clean. It just was very deplorable conditions, to say the least.
Was she in school, and did anyone not notice this condition about her?
The information that we have right now is that none of the children had been attending school.
Ages of the children, do we have ages range from what to what?
We have an age range of the youngest being 2 to 15 years old.
Had there ever been calls to that home before, reports of abuse previously?
We're still looking into all of the calls for service, but right now it just appears very minimal calls.
Can you talk a little bit more about Melanie's condition? Obviously, there was the bruises at different stages of healing, but did she seem malnourished, or were there any other medical issues as well?
We're hoping to find more information of malnourishment or any other medical problems with the autopsy.
Have you had an opportunity to interview neighbors, and did any of them notice anything unusual?
That's still part of the continuing investigation. I know that today detectives were doing additional interviews with other people, so that's all going to be part of the investigative process.
Is there any way you can provide some clarity as far as who had custody of the children? Did the grandmother have custody? Did the mom not have custody? Or what can you tell us about the situation? It sounds like 4 of the children were living with the grandmother. What can you explain?
Just a very general statement is that 4 of the children were under the care of grandma, while mom had care of the youngest child. The exact custody arrangement through DCS, we are still looking into what the exact arrangements were.
Do we have any info on Melanie's father, notification, any involvement in Melanie's life?
I don't have that information with her father or any of the other children.
Just to be clear so I understand accurately, the grandmother, she claimed that the girl had fallen down the stairs 2 days prior. Was she relating that to what happened Tuesday night, to the call Tuesday night?
As far as we understand, that's one of the reasons she said that the child might have been unresponsive.
Can you talk about officers going in a situation like this? This is obviously a very emotional story, the community impacted. Can you talk about the impact officers have arriving on the scene and hearing about this child?
So one of the things that the department really looks into is our wellness of our officers, right? So anytime we have calls that are of this magnitude that may affect the mental health of our officers, we do have a peer support team. So they will be checking in with any officers or detectives or anyone who essentially had a part in this case, just to check in and make sure that they're doing okay. You know, we do recognize that a lot of officers do have children around this age range, so it's really important to always follow up.
Do you have the street address of this property or the cross streets? What part of town was this in?
The cross streets are going to be Mill Avenue and the US 60, just south.
You've been on the force a long time. I mean, your reaction when you see a story like this, I mean, you guys come across all kinds of things, but it affects you personally as well as everyone else, right?
Of course, these specific calls are just heartbreaking. These are the calls that you never want to have to go on. They're the calls we wish we didn't have to see, but that is why we signed up to do this job, is because we want to be able to speak for these victims and to be able to have a voice for them and get justice.
Can we describe the cage?
Describe the cage?
Yeah.
Again, the best way it can be described is a bunk bed. The top bed was still there. The bottom bed was not, and was surrounded with baby gates and other caging-like material.
Just a follow-up on the calls for service question, any prior reports to DCS?
I'm not sure of the reports with DCS.
Do Do you know if the Tempe PD has been out there weeks prior, months prior, or anything like that for any other calls?
We hadn't been out there within the recent history. We had been out there for other calls within the past years, but again, nothing to do with any sort of abuse cases.
I know you had also mentioned that it'll be a little while and part of the investigation, but, you know, as far as we're talking about months, possibly years that this child was in this cage, I mean, I know we're kind of speculating, but is it a long period of time? I mean, is there any way they could give us a rough estimate as to what we're talking about?
We really can't speak to how long she had been in the cage or controlled by the cage. What we do know is that she had been in the care of her grandma for a significant amount of time. So these are all pieces of evidence that we will use to hopefully piece together a more accurate timeline.
One more question, guys. And feel free to ask the question to the chief or commander as well.
I mean, Chief, can you, step up and just give us your thoughts when this type of story comes through? I mean, obviously, you've covered all types of stuff in your experience, but again, it impacts you personally too, right? These are hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. These are just heartbreaking situations that not only impact our officers, but impact the whole community. And for us to see a child suffering like this, again, just reiterates why we do this work and why it's so important that all of us as a collective do everything we can to keep the most vulnerable in our community safe. And so our officers, are working around the clock right now to find answers in this situation. But where I started with this is our hearts go out to Melanie. And again, this is a tragedy for our whole community. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.